Hello, my name is Amber Eisenshank and I'm a staff attorney at the League of Minnesota Cities. The League of Minnesota Cities is a nonprofit association of cities that Red Wing is a part of. Today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the structures and processes that shape local government, specifically in Red Wing. The first thing we're going to talk about is the general administrative structure of Red Wing. There are two main types in Minnesota. The first is a council-manager structure. And in that type of structure, the council is the policy-making and legislative authority for the city, where the administrator or city manager is in charge of running the actual administration of the day-to-day government, managing the departments and the people that operate in the city. The second main structure for administration in Minnesota is the mayor-council form. And Red Wing has a mayor-council form that's set forth in your charter, that you are a mayor-council structure, but you do have some of the components of the council-manager form of government too. But under the mayor-council form, the council has the administrative and legislative authority in the city, and all of that is ultimately up to the council. So your hiring and firing decisions, things like that. Where your city administrator in that role is just operating by what the council is directing him or her to do. So what does that mean? Who holds the power and makes the decisions? Again, you guys have Red Wing has the mayor-council form of government. So the council has the ultimate authority for making decisions, but you have delegated some of that authority to your city administrator to make some of those day-to-day operational decisions for your city. The mayor, of course, makes recommendations, and you have 7 council members who take votes. Another part of the council structure in Minnesota, there's 2 main ones. It's a strong mayor-council or a weak mayor system. Red Wing has a weak mayor or strong council system where the mayor is directly elected and the council members are elected from the population of Red Wing. So a strong mayor system is very rare in Minnesota. There are only 3 cities, St. Paul, Duluth, and St. Cloud. And in the strong mayor system, the mayor is responsible for the operation of the city. It's their full-time job, their day-to-day, and they run all the departments. In the weak mayor system, which is the most common system in Minnesota, the mayor is just simply a member of the city council. They don't have more authority than other city council members, and they're not running the day-to-day operations. The mayor is, of course, considered the official head of the city for official and ceremonial purposes, those ribbon cuttings and fun things like that. The mayor is also the official head of the city for the courts for the purposes of serving civil process, by the governor for purpose of declaring martial law. The mayor in Red Wing makes recommendations to the city council, identifies potential areas of improvement to the council within the city government, and works with the administrator and police chief in dealing with matters of public safety. In Red Wing, the mayor holds a veto power, which is pretty unique in Minnesota, and it's definitely unusual for the typical weak mayor system. And the reason why your mayor has a veto power is that is a charter provision, and we'll talk a little bit more about your city charter later. So how do we get these 7 council members? Well, you have, Red Wing has 6 ward-based council members and 1 at-large council member. And so that is kind of a mix between what a lot of cities choose to do, and that's at-large council members are those elected to serve and represent the entire city. They are elected by the entire city. So no matter where you live within the city, you would vote for that office. Ward council members only are elected by a specific portion of the population. So you have your map of your city, and you kind of cut it into pieces based on population so that you're have equal representation for each ward. So each ward on your map would have a different city council member elected from there. And Red Wings is a little unique in your ward system in that Dustin Schulenberg is a council member at large. So he is the council member currently who is elected from the entire population of Red Wing. While Dean Hub represents the 1st and 2nd wards, so that's a little unique. Evan Brown represents the 3rd and 4th wards, and then your remaining 4 council members represent 1 ward each. So each ward, if you're doing the math, each ward has 2 council members, one that represents just their ward and one that represents 2 wards, plus the mayor to vote on. Your council members are currently serving staggered terms. That's probably most common way that cities operate at this point. And staggered terms means that at any given city election, usually only half of them are going to appear on the ballot for re-election, or the offices are open to be electing new council members. If you did not have staggered terms, your whole council could theoretically change over in one election cycle, which is pretty unique. So in Red Wing, everyone has a chance to vote, as I said, for a city council member. And because you have 2 council members representing you no matter which ward you're in, every 2 years you get to vote for a council member. So because the staggered terms are set up so that the one that represents just your ward is 1 year, and then 2 years later it's the one that represents 2 wards, and then again and again, if that makes sense. In Minnesota, our city council members and mayors have the choice for your term lengths for the mayor. The mayor can be 2 or 4 years. In Red Wing, it is a 4-year term. In Minnesota, council members are also 4-year terms. It's not a choice. But in Minnesota, cities cannot put term limits on city council members. I know that's a popular topic. Some individuals run on I think people should only be here for a certain number of terms, and an individual can say that and hold themselves to that, but the city charter or city ordinances could not impose such a term limit. And that's because there was a Minnesota Supreme Court decision in 1995 that decided that the state constitution sets forth the qualifications for office for council members, and it does not impose a term limit, so cities can't go ahead and impose a term limit anyway. So until the state constitution is changed or that Minnesota Supreme Court case is overturned, term limits are a no-go. Red Wing does have a couple council members who have served previous terms. Dean Hove and Peggy Render are 2 of them. Something also unique to Red Wing is that you have an ethics commission and an ethics code that your council members abide by. Red Wing adopted a code of conduct for the city council and all of the city advisory boards, which applies to the mayor and members of the advisory boards and commissions as well. If an individual is in violation of that city code of conduct, the city council must hear the complaint about the violation. They must consult about that violation with the city attorney and find that the complaint has been lodged either in good faith rather than for political purposes. And hear the individual's case, so some due process there. If they're found in violation of the code, the council can take one or more of the following steps. Those would include censure of the individual. Censure is where the city council basically declares, usually by resolution, that what they've done is improper or not appropriate for their role. There are no fees associated with censure or anything like that. It's just kind of the council's declaration that they did not agree with what this council member did or said, or commission member in Red Wing's case. The Ethics Commission can also refer matters for criminal prosecution. So if there was maybe an allegation of theft and the commission found that there was maybe some evidence that supported that, they would certainly refer that matter for criminal prosecution to the city prosecutor or county sheriff's office. They can request that they not participate in an upcoming decision. So this is often popular with conflicts of interest. maybe that there is a conflict between a commission member and the issue that they're discussing or considering. And the Ethics Commission can also remove them from their board or office for the advisory boards. So just to conclude, in Red Wing you have the mayor-council administrative structure. You have the weak mayor, strong council form. You have both at-large and ward district council members. They have staggered election terms. They are all 4-year term limits, and you do have an ethics commission. So that's just a little bit more about Red Wing and the administrative structures and processes that shape your local government.